This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
Well, let's see if we need to as we welcome in Nick Coffey, who now joins us, does ESPN radio in Louisville in the afternoons. Nick, I know you've got a busy week ahead of you, so we appreciate your time. Just get right down to it. It's already legs to this. Could Eric Musselman wind up being the next Louisville head basketball coach?
Well, I'll say this. If so, that would be a big, big upgrade for Louisville. I've always been very, very high on Eric Musselman, as I'm sure you guys have. I think he's actually reminded a lot of folks outside of Arkansas how good of a basketball job that is, just with the early success that he's had, energized the fan base. His name is obviously going to come up when a big job like Louisville comes open just because of what he's done. I've been high on Musselman since his days at Nevada when Louisville hired Chris Mack. But to answer your question, I don't think anybody knows. I think it's obvious for his name to be mentioned just because, again, what he's done. Obviously, Arkansas did not have a great year this past year, but still I don't think that wipes away, what he's proven to be able to do in this game. But he's a name that nobody says no because, he's good. But as far as is it realistic, I don't know. I think it's odd just to know, just the fact that it's come up because, again, I'm not really sure as to why it even became a thing that he would want to leave or that there was any reason to consider him leaving because, again, this year wasn't that great. But if his buyout is what they say it is, it's pretty minimal compared to others, and he would want to come, I think Louisville should take him. But as far as is that conversation even going on, I'm not totally sure. I know the fans in Louisville would certainly think very highly of him.
Oh, Nick, you just brought up his buyout. It's $1 million, it sounds like right now, according to, I guess I go back and look at the contract. But how attractable is that to other, not just Louisville, but other college basketball places that might have an interest in Muss that they pay minimal to a certain degree to the opposing school to get him in that situation?
I don't even understand how he ended up having the success he's had, the money he's making, and have such a small buyout. So to answer your question, it's huge. You would think a guy just, take where he is, SEC, a lot of money there, a lot of resources. I think Arkansas, every step of the way since he's arrived, has made it clear they want to keep him. They want to make him happy. Again, he's given them some life they haven't had in quite some time. So, no, it's huge. I mean, there's guys that I think, fans, like myself and those who do cover coaching searches whenever they come up around here, buyouts aren't something you really do a whole lot of looking into unless you have to, unless you really feel like you need to. And some of these coaches out there, like T.J. Otzelberg at Iowa State, Jerome Tang at Kansas State, good coaches, but they've not done what Eric Musselman's done, and yet they have buyouts that are, 6 to 7, maybe 8 times more. So I think that's another factor here is that the financials just aren't as much to get somebody away from a good job like you would have expected with Musselman at Arkansas.
So Nick Coffey, again, is our guest, does ESPN Radio in Louisville. What are the Cardinals' financials right now? I mean, Payne, Mack, I would assume buyouts are pretty hefty. And also curious to the NIL maybe that Louisville can offer. What does that look like, or at least what you've heard or maybe know?
So Louisville has, I think their athletic director, Josh Hurd, said it best when he had his press conference last week, that they have the money to go hire one of the best coaches in the country, but they're also not just going to go spend a bunch of money just to go spend a bunch of money. So I think they have the money. For example, I think the reports are accurate as far as Scott Drew. That's who they want. I do not believe he's going to leave Waco, but I think they understand even to get him to consider it, you're going to have to make him one of the top 3-4 paid coaches in college basketball. I think they're prepared to do that. They also have an NIL collective fund that has really gained momentum in the last year or so. And, basketball's big around here. If there's people that are going to throw some money towards a certain program to have success, it's probably going to be basketball. So I think they feel really good about the NIL. I think they feel really good about the money they could throw at a coach to get him to leave a comfortable spot. And, I think there's a lot of folks that just assume because of all the fire, all the scandal, all the controversy that's happened at Louisville, there have been a lot of guys in and out. But Rick Pitino didn't get a dime. He was fired with cause, didn't get any money. Chris Mack is still getting money, but that will actually end, I believe, in the next 8 months. Kenny Payne will be somebody they've got to pay the full contract to get, to move on from him. But there was one person specifically that stepped in to pay that in full. So it's not going to be something that's on the books for a while. So financially, I know there are programs in better shape than them, but I think they're in good shape and they're willing to make sure basketball is not left behind because of money.
Nick, let me ask you this. And you mentioned being a fan earlier. I graduated the U of A. Who has the better basketball program? Louisville or Arkansas?
I think Louisville, historically, as far as a tradition standpoint, I do think that Louisville is just different. Not to say it's better than Arkansas. It's just different. We don't, football is a baby compared to the basketball tradition and support around here. But I'll tell you this, man. I have family in Fayetteville. They've lived there for 20 years. I've been there many times. Fayetteville is a phenomenal college town. People in Fayetteville, people in Arkansas, they support the Razorbacks really like anybody, like nobody else. I mean, it's not to say it's the most passionate fan base, but it's one of them. So I think Musselman, again, he has reminded people that's a really, really good job. In fact, I think Louisville's got the edge just because of the tradition, but some would say that stuff doesn't really matter this day and age. And Muss, I think, has reminded everybody, oh, wow, if you get somebody in there that can really energize the fan base, oh, and by the way, win big when it matters, it's a phenomenal job. So I'd give the slight edge to Louisville, but I'm also willing to say I'm probably a little biased.
And, Nick, on that subject, being second fiddle in the state, I'm friends with Auburn grads. They know they're second fiddle in Alabama. What does that just do for a potential college basketball coach knowing about the behemoth in Lexington and Cal and, for the most part, not being the dominant program in that state? Since before I was born, it's been little brother. And, little brother, I get it. Like, Louisville does not have this. Louisville's not Kentucky. I think Kentucky, and it pains me to say this, I'd be shamed if I said it to my listeners, but I think Kentucky's the best job in the sport. I think Kentucky basketball is just different. Pains me to say, but I just think it's true. So I think there's some self-awareness from Louisville to understand that, yes, we're not what Kentucky is in the same state, but you know what? Little brother's been in the weight room. He's been working out. He's pretty good himself. So I think, that's kind of how we view it. And I believe that there are some folks that, I guess, think depending upon who you, like, for example, when I know about Muss, I think he would embrace that. I think he would play into the rivalry around here in a way that we would be super excited. He'd probably take his shirt off to do it, and we'd be happy about it, and we'd be excited. So, I think Louisville fans are well aware of that Kentucky is just believed to be the superior program, has more tradition, has had more success. But I think we also kind of know, what we've been capable to do as well. And it's just been so long since we've been, up there with them competing. And I hate to make it sound as if that's one of the most important components of the hire, but it matters around here, man. It's like religion. So, I have no problem admitting it. Some people don't. Kentucky is a program that is a notch above, but I think Louisville fans, they know that and realize they can still be pretty dang good, too. And we're talking with Nick Coffey, by the way, does ESPN Radio at Louisville. I think there's some similarities, Nick, between Arkansas and Louisville in the sense that the Razorbacks and the Wildcats have gone toe-to-toe at times, and the Razorbacks have beaten them at their best, and Kentucky's been really good, and there have been some awesome battles. Kentucky's won the predominant most of those games, as Louisville has to that point. So I think there are some similarities there. I do wonder, though, you referenced Mack and Payne. Why didn't those hires work? I mean, I thought Kenny Payne was a home run guy. I mean, as a Louisville guy, you're bringing him back home. Why did Mack, who was a good coach at Xavier, why did those hires not work?
I'll start with Kenny Payne, and I just think Kenny was so in over his head. I think everything he did as an assistant coach at Kentucky, it was a very specific role that really had little to nothing to do with what it takes to be a head coach as far as that role in regards to just a leader. And I'm talking from coaching on the floor. I'm talking to building a staff. I mean, it was an all-systems failure, and I don't mean to pile on. This isn't, some recency here, emotion because of just how bad it ended. But, I mean, the red flags were there from day one, and it's something I think we'll look back on in many years and just think, like, did that really happen? Because it's just, the level of how bad they were is something none of us ever thought we would see. Now, with Chris Mack, it worked early on. I mean, I think Chris Mack's going to end up landing at Vanderbilt, and I think he'll be a good coach there. I don't know what the ceiling is, but he had Louisville number one in the country in his second season, and a lot of folks claim, well, that's because he had Pitino's players, which isn't true. The leading returning scorer on the team that Chris Mack inherited, was a guy named Ryan McMahon, who was a former walk-on. So he had success, and then, a global pandemic came around. Things kind of fell apart. He had an assistant coach extort him. That led to a big embarrassment for the school. And I think a lot of folks think Mack was fired. Mack was not fired. Mack was not asked to leave. He just walked away midseason just because of, all of the dysfunction at the University of Louisville. The athletic director who had hired him left in the middle of the football season. the president of the school left in the middle of the night around Christmas time to go to Penn State. There was really nobody else that was around to bring him on that was still there. I think he felt like I probably want to get out before, something bad happens. They get rid of me. But I think Chris Mack's a good coach. I think he would have really worked here. I just think timing and it was bad. And you got to keep in mind, he never actually coached a game here in 4 years without a cloud above the program in regards to a big punishment that was coming for the FBI stuff. So I just think that when chalk it up as bad timing and bad luck really for him. But yeah, I think he would have really worked well here.
Nick, and we really appreciate you making some time for us. I need this answer in about 20 seconds. Are they going to wait on Drew and after the postseason for Baylor, or do you think they make a decision by the end of the week as we let you go?
I think by the end of this week, we will know they're going to go in a different direction because it'll be one of two things. Either Scott Drew has been appreciated, he's appreciating it being flirted with, but he's going to stay, or maybe they're pushing him for an answer and he's just not willing to do that given the fact that he could have a Final Four team on his hands.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.